Alright, this is my second to last video of the year. For any of you watching this who have not watched 15 Years Later, I strongly suggest you do watch that, because a lot of the things in this video I'm going to be talking about are in relation to the events of 15 Years Later. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and do so before watching this, please. You'll get a much bigger understanding of what I'm talking about. I want to talk about in this video what happens if you don't have a clear goal while you're growing up, specifically before the age of 25, and especially after 25. If you just let society tell you how to live, if you let other people who may or may not have opinions that are relevant to yours, and whose opinions you may or may not agree with, but you just want to anyways because it's the easier thing to do. If you let their opinions influence you, these following things will happen, okay? After what happened to me in 15 Years Later, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody for a good 5 or 6 years. I was that ashamed of it. I thought it wasn't normal. Deep down inside, I thought it wasn't normal. I acted it out in different ways. And one of these ways was to be a really negative person, a very toxic person. It was charming in that I was really unfiltered. For example, I would just talk shit about everybody in my school. So someone would like give me a name or a clique. Like say, let's use the classic jocks. You know, what do you think of the jocks? And I would go, oh, let me tell you about the jocks. Well, here's my problem with the jocks. You know, and I would like I would have this like kind of like a promo against them. You know what I mean? And it'd be like, well, are you a goth? I'd be like, oh, you want to do goths? Okay, I got goths. This is what's wrong with goths. You know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. And with cheerleaders and with greasers and with my high school had all of the groups, okay? It had all of the stereotypes, okay? It had everything. It was one of the most diverse places I've ever grown up in. I'm not racially diverse, but like culturally diverse amongst adolescents. It was really one of the most. It had every high school stereotype. You know what I mean? Even me, you know what I mean? Even I was that stereotype of that lost kid who's gonna who's like most likely to, you know, I don't like saying this, but like most likely to, you know, hurt people, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff, you know what I mean? I'm not saying like necessarily pull a Columbine, but you know, something similar, and I was placed in that category. Along with many others, along with a lot of other people, a lot of kids that I knew too, that were like that. Specifically, the extent of my attention-seeking behavior really reached a breaking point almost, where I really did hit as far as I could go. Like it was like, okay, that's too far. It was when Columbine happened. Let me move this here. This way you see more than just my face. There we go. It was when Columbine happened. I was taking a elective journalism class just for a cheap A, because I didn't care about school. I really didn't. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna sleep through school and then sleep through college and then sleep through life. You know what I mean? That was my goal back then, because I didn't care. Because I was like, you know what? My life's fucked anyways. Hell with it. And I created a different addiction that I'm gonna talk about later on. But right now, let's get on attention-seeking stuff. So Columbine happened, right? And our teacher was like, "Yeah, you know, let's talk about this because it's in the news and all that good shit." You know what I mean? Like, let's have a discussion. You know what I mean? And some people were like, "Oh, what else could they do? They were being bullied." Some other people were like, "Oh, you know, they just did that just so they could get attention," or something like that, or they felt like they were being excluded, or one of them, I think actually the most accurate depiction of Columbine, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that they were really doing it just to kind of like troll everybody. It was almost like they were just bored. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh my god, this is awful. Like, I don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, let's just kill people because we're bored. That's that's amongst many of the theories about Columbine. That's what I've heard, but I've heard other things too. And then I come up to speak. Okay, it's my turn to speak. Like, everyone was just like, it was just like rotating. Like, everyone like said like a sentence about it or something like that. Had some kind of statement. I said, you know what I really don't like about Columbine, and I actually said this with a straight face. I said, I just wanted that to happen here. And silence. There was just silence for a good 10 seconds. And I go, and then of course I follow it up. I bury it deeper, and I go, oh, come on. I just spoke what is on half of your guys' minds right now, okay? So that was awful, okay? And the more I dug into that attention-seeking behavior, the more I craved it. It was almost like an addiction. It was like, okay, you know, I got heads to turn now. How many more heads can I turn later? You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Even when I had a high school crush, this cheerleader, you know, that I liked, you know, I kind of foregone all my unfiltered attention-seeking things that I said, which to a lot of girls was actually quite charming, because being an unfiltered individual, you know, it's a very attractive trait, and a lot of women and girls, even at a younger age, they appreciate that. They like that. So I was actually getting a lot of attention from girls that just never knew what to do with it. If I had known what to do with it, you know, I'd probably have an STD by now. Because I would have had sex with like 50 women if I did. You know what I mean? But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But to the cheerleader that I liked, you know, I was like, all right, I gotta be nice now, you know, but I was still attention seeking, you know what I mean? I would still be like, I would still like get a good grade, and I'd be like, look, I got this awesome grade. Did you see that? That kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Or I'd be like, oh, or I would try to slip in some of my negative opinions, but it would be filtered, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And I got off on her attention. I'm like, oh my god, I got attention from her. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I was addicted to that, and that's an addiction to negativity all its own. You know what I mean? Because you scare away people, and then after she, you know, did what she didn't want a part of me. That's when I turned on the negativity even more, and this is when I kind of lost the charm that I had, and I just became someone that no one liked because I didn't like anybody. And this continued for a while. That continued for a good 5 years. I'm not gonna lie. Now there would be times where I would be, you know, I would make jokes and I would be positive about stuff. But the true core of my character, up until my dad got cancer, that's when I really started to turn things around. You know, I just didn't want anybody to be happy. I really didn't. And here's the thing, because I didn't really tell many people what happened to me 15 years ago. You know, if you leave something untreated, it'll start infecting everything else. And that's exactly what happened to me. That's what happened to me up until my dad got cancer. And then I started drinking like crazy because I just wanted to self-medicate the pain away. When 2005 began, I weighed, I think, maybe 180. Okay? By the end of 2005, I weighed 210. That's how much weight I gained by booze, by junk food, by just not being productive, by eating late, Yeah, but by eating right before I'd go to sleep, I remember I did some really stupid things where I'd like eat a whole like mess of food, and I would like get a food coma, and I probably gained weight from that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was my escape too. Uh, After my dad died, I said, "Oh, I want to do all the things that my dad told me never to do," and that was gambling. He said, "No, don't gamble. It's stupid." And I gambled a lot. I gambled. Oh my god, that to this day that was the most damaging addiction I've ever had. Okay, I mean alcohol. I just gained a bunch of weight, but when I was addicted to gambling, and I was going to the casino every day, and I used the rationalization of, oh, I need to take my mom to work because my mom works in a casino. Um, I used that as rationalization to throw away a good 100, 200. On some days, I would go as far as maxing out the withdrawal on my debit card. They give you a certain amount that you max out at. To this way you don't drain your entire bank account at the casino. You know what I mean? And there were times where I would do that. You know what I mean? And it was just awful. And I never and the rush of me winning, like I was addicted to that rush. I was addicted to that rush because I was like, wow, or even the possibility. I'm like, oh my god, like no, I can win. I need to keep playing. The more you play, the more you win, man. But little do you know that casino game, the stuff you play in the casino, with the exception of maybe blackjack and poker, you're freaking, what do they call it? You're kind of cheering for laundry, in that you're just wasting your money you're flushing money down the toilet and hoping more will come up. That's the most gruesome way I can describe gambling. I'm talking like slot machines, you know what I mean? Like, and roulette, like that. There's no chances there. You can't be a strategist. You know what I mean? So whatever, you know. So I did that, and then I went back to school, and not only did I still not tell anybody about what happened to me. Uh, I witnessed within 6 months 3 deaths in my family. Both of my parents' both of my dad's parents, and my mother's father. Three of those, all those took place within 6 months, which was 1 year after my dad died. So within 2 calendar years, I had experienced 4 deaths in the family, and I still did not tell anybody. I told maybe a few close friends what happened to me. What happened to me 15 years ago. And honestly, that's when the train just fell right off the tracks and into that deep ravine where it's now a really, really long climb to get back to where it was, which wasn't really that far up the top of the canyon, anyways. You know what I mean? I was just kind of cruising along, and then all of a sudden, I get thrown off. I just get completely. I remember I had a very hard time sleeping because I was at school. I was trying to. I was trying to keep my friends around by buying them stuff and by paying their bills, which was not a good idea, obviously. And I wasn't really working a job to do this. I was taking out student loans, which was the worst thing I could possibly do. Oh my god. Like, I want to look back at myself 5 years ago and be like, what is wrong with you, man? And now, of course, like most other Americans, I gotta live with that shit. But I started to take sleeping pills. And I don't know what they put in sleeping pills, but it's gotta be the most deadly, like, it's gotta be the most nastiest, like, combination of substances or chemicals or whatever that they put in that thing, in those things, because holy crap. Okay, so we got traumatic experience that's still affecting me, deaths in the family, and now I'm addicted to sleeping pills. And when it comes to pills, okay, I don't have the biggest. I could develop a tolerance to alcohol. You know what I mean? Or any other drug like that, where it's just like, the dosage doesn't really do much to you. Like same with cigarettes. You know what I mean? Like I used to smoke cigarettes, but not anymore. Because I just replaced it with chewing gum. But I would get up to maybe a pack a week, maybe a pack every 2 days, on like really stressful occasions. You know what I mean? But like whatever. And then alcohol, like since I haven't gone out drinking in a while, or I barely ever do now, I kind of, after like 3-4 drinks, I'm like, whoa, I got a buzz going on. But back when I was drinking heavily, that would take about 8 drinks for me to get there, you know what I mean? And so it was with sleeping pills. I would take one sleeping pill when it started, and that would knock me out for a good 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours, okay? And then, and I swear to God, it's just like hard drugs. Like you do so much rationalization with pills. I don't understand what it is until you just go way too far for you to recover. That's how it is with pills in all of history. Okay, I'm not lying, because I tried doing this with happy pills too. So one pill would knock me out for like 4 hours, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting enough sleep now. This is ridiculous. I'm waking up miserable too. Let me take 2 next time. See what happens. I would take 2. I would go to sleep 8 to 10 hours. Cool. And that would last for about a month. Okay? And then I'm like, well, I'm getting only half of my original sleep with 2 sleeping pills. Let me take 3. This is going to be the only time I do this. Okay? I would take 3. I'd be like, alright, good. Okay, that's fine. I got good sleep after that. I think I'll be alright. I would take 2 of them again, and I'd be like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe I need to take 3. 3 isn't the only thing it's going to do is just get more pills out of the things to where I need to buy them more often. But they only cost like $2 anyway, so it's fine. And then I took 3, and then at wit's end, okay, at wit's end, when everything just started to go very, very wrong for me, roughly 5 years ago, I was taking 4 sleeping pills to get 4 hours of sleep. I'm not lying. That's not healthy. And that proved itself, because I had more. These weren't even temper tantrums like what a little kid does. No, I had more like meltdowns in that one 2-year period where I was taking sleeping pills. That whole we'll say 1.5. That whole 1.5 year period where I was taking sleeping pills, I had the most destructive personality that could ever be conceived. This was at home. This wasn't in public, thank God, because I wouldn't be here if that was in public. I'd probably be in prison or something, like on like some assault charges or whatever, because oh my God, like to the people I lived with, I was living with a couple buddies of mine, or one of them was a close and personal childhood friend that I just completely, I completely screwed the pooch with because of the way I was of the way I wasn't handling myself on sleeping pills. When I was on sleeping pills, it was terrible. Like I would just have, and of course, everything was compounding. I still didn't tell people about what happened to me. I still wasn't getting, I still wasn't grieving properly from the deaths of my family. I was really holding myself back a lot. I would sleep through class, and I would like barely pass them. And these are easy classes that, that I really, if I were to take them nowadays, I'd probably be able to sleep my way to an A. I'd be able to sleep my way to an 80 or 90 or better. You know what I mean? Like right now, I'd be able to do that. Nothing. But 5 years ago, I wasn't able to do that. And it set me back a lot. It set me back financially. It set me back when it comes to personal growth. It set me back in more ways than one. All because, and really the catalyst for it, was because I didn't tell I didn't tell anybody what happened to me 15 years ago. I didn't do that at the right time. Okay? I truly believe if I had talked to somebody maybe a year after it happened, or 6 months, or 3 months after, I say the school therapist, I say, look, this happened to me. I was abused. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to feel right now. I feel shameful as hell. What do I do about this? Please, I just need someone to talk to about this. If I were to sit in front of a high school council or whatever they had shrinks at my high school that you could have like 2 sessions with like every year or something like that. I don't remember how it worked. But if I were to talk to the school shrink about it, maybe I would have been able to handle pain a lot more than just self-medicating. So, yeah. And it set me back to the point where, everything just started crashing down on me about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and that's why I got rid of my Final Fantasy IX playlist, because I did that mostly in 2011. And 2011, that was one of the worst years of my life. I didn't feel happy that year at all. I faked my happiness quite a bit, but there's so much that you can fake without just without being found out. And I went back and I watched them, and I'm like, oh my god, I sound awful. I sound depressed. I sound like I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? And there's a couple of other playthroughs, video game stuff that I did in 2011 that I'm probably going to redo. Just because, I feel like I need to. You know what I mean? So that's my story. That's part 2 of 15 years later. So if any of you watching this have gone through what I've gone through, or I pray to God, I hope not, but worse, you need to get help. I do want to put a timestamp on that. Get help no longer than a year after that thing has happened to you, because the more you deny it, the more you deny the fact that you do need to talk to somebody, that you do need some help, and it's okay. You shouldn't get an ego. You shouldn't get some ego thing about it. Especially if you're a man. You shouldn't be like, well, I'm a man and I gotta be tough. No, that's not. No. In the face of abuse, that you can't just tough it out. Okay. Bullying, you can be tough, okay? Bullying, if someone's just making fun of you or teasing you or calling you names and shit, like, you can be like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna go bust my ass and work out, or not be a loser or whatever. I'm gonna find a way out of this. You know what I mean? But when it comes to abuse, traumatic experiences can't just be healed by improving yourself. It's only half of the puzzle. The other half is, yes, talking to people about it. You know what I mean? So, anyways, hope you enjoyed this. Part 3 is actually going to be, I'm going to do a part 3, but it's not going to be now. It's going to be after New Year's. It's going to be next year. So, alright, I'm out of here. Keep being awesome.